Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho. It is a Tuesday, the first day of April, a brand new month, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. Over 2,000 lives lost in Myanmar, the Myanmar earthquake as global support fuels search and rescue missions. The lead counsel of former President Rodrigo Duterte claims there is a compelling case to dismiss the ICC charges before the trial starts. And Filipinos who leave the country illegally may soon face legal sanctions as the Immigration Bureau pushes for recommendations. Immigration Chief Joel Viado points out a gap in existing laws against illegal exits. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda. The Philippine Embassy in Myanmar's Composite Assistance to Nationals team has arrived in Mandalay. There have not been any confirmed Filipinos who were rescued or retrieved from the site. Other nationals have also extended a hand in the ongoing search and rescue operations. Here's the full story.
Aerial video released by Myanmar Fire Services Department showed a flattened building in Myanmar's Mandalay region after Friday's massive earthquake. State media said the death toll had reached 2,065, with more than 3,900 injured and over 270 missing. Myanmar's military government had declared a week-long mourning period from Monday. Still are too scared to sleep indoors due to a high number of aftershock. Families sat with their children on the sidewalk, by the river, some surrounded by their belongings, and the pavement was dotted with tents and mosquito nets. Several countries deployed rescue teams to help local authorities in the search and rescue operation. Video published by the Russian Emergency Ministry on Monday showed the Russian teams and a search dog looking through piles of rubble from collapsed buildings in Mandalay. The China search and rescue team, meanwhile, had pulled out 4 survivors, 3 adult females and a girl, after 13 hours of hard work in Mandalay City. The China search and rescue team, meanwhile, had pulled out 4 survivors, 3 adult females and a girl, after 13 hours of hard work in Mandalay City. A total of 91 personnel from 5 civilian emergency response forces organized by China's Ministry of Emergency Management have arrived in Myanmar. The U.S. State Department said a team from the U.S. Agency for International Development was traveling to Myanmar to help identify the most pressing needs. U.S. disaster experts, including those based in Bangkok, Manila, and Washington, are also monitoring the situation.
In addition, as announced over the weekend, the United States will provide up to $2 million through Burma-based humanitarian assistance organizations to support earthquake-affected communities as an immediate response to the March 28th earthquake.
The Office of Civil Defense has outlined 2 levels of preparation for the potential big one. OCD Administrator Undersecretary Ariel Nepomuceno explained that Level 1 focuses on engineering solutions such as reinforcing infrastructure, while Level 2 involves public actions, including duck, cover, and hole drills. He emphasized that the country is prepared with plans already in place for Level 1. However, there is a need to strengthen Level 2 efforts to enhance earthquake resilience in communities.
Ang mas importante po talaga, kaya pagtulong-tulungan natin kung paano yung first level of preparations, which is yung paggawa po natin ng mga engineering solutions. Ibig sabihin, dapat maging matibay talaga ang mga bahay, struktura, buildings, na talagang sumunod yan sa mga mahigpit na provisions, panuntunan ng building code na dapat kaya ng mga gusali natin, ng mga tulay natin, ang lakas kahit hanggang 8.5 magnitude earthquake.
Meanwhile, Malacanang called on local government units to ensure the safety and integrity of buildings in their localities.
Nakikiusapan din po namin lahat po ng building officials sa LGUs, kung maaari po ay tignan nila yung mga structure nila at maging stricto po at magkaroon po ng restriction sa pagpapatayo po ng mga buildings para po hindi po prone sa ganitong klaseng sakuna kung maaari po talaga.
Over to The Hague, former President Rodrigo Duterte's lead counsel says there is a compelling argument to dismiss the ICC case before trial even begins. In an interview, lawyer Nicholas Kaufman said he hoped to stop the case before the ICC confirms the charges by arguing the court cannot exercise its jurisdiction. He said the Philippines' withdrawal from the court had become effective well before an investigation was authorized. The confirmation of charges hearing, where prosecutor and defense first lay out their evidence, is scheduled for September 23 of this year. Don't go away. We'll be back with more stories right after the break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon met with Manibela Chairman Mar Valbuena for a dialogue on the public transport modernization program. Dizon also issued an order to form a committee tasked with issues related to the PTMP. Here's the report.
Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon met with Manibela Chairman Mark Valbuena following their strike last week. The meeting focused on issues surrounding the implementation of the public transport modernization program.
Marami silang mga nakita at naranasan na pagkukulang at mga problema sa modernization program. At yon ay in-acknowledge natin. No? Inaamin natin na kahit tayo, marami tayong nakitang mga problema.
Dizon also issued an order to form a committee tasked with reviewing concerns and policies related to the PTMP. The committee will be led by Undersecretary for Road Transport and Non-Infrastructure Ramon Reyes. It will also include other officials such as Undersecretary Steve Pastor, Assistant Secretary Jojo Reyes, LTO Chief Vigor Mendoza, and the new head of the Office of Transportation Cooperatives, former Cainta Mayor Mon Ilagan. It is noticeable that LTFRB Chairman Chofi Luguadis III is not part of the committee. Dizon clarified that this does not imply anything further and there will be no changes in the LTFRB leadership at any time.
I think kailangan dito merong fresh perspective, no? Para maintindihan ano ba ang mga problema, maintindihan ang mga pagkukulang, pero hindi naman ibig sabihin nun, hindi involve ang LTFRB dahil ang committee to ay makikipag-usap sa lahat ng mga stakeholders. And siyempre, kasama na dyan ang LTFRB. Kailangan mag-focus tayo sa talagang napakalalim at unbiased review ng modernization program. At magagawa lang natin to kung mga bagong tao at bagong mukha.
The committee is expected to submit the recommendations next week. But while the recommendations are still pending, Manibela is calling for an extension of their franchises.
Hanggat na may dialogo, pinapakinggan tayo habang ang importante po talaga rito ay maibalik muna sa amin yung aming mga at least provisional authority na makabiyahe kami. Kasi kung wala yon, kahit na nagdadialogo tayo, kolorum pa rin kami. Wala pa rin kaming mga papel. So, habang nagdadialog tayo, kailangan may pinanghahawakan din kaming mga papel na nakakabiyahe na talaga kami.
For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
Now let's get back to The Hague for the latest on the ICC case of former President Rodrigo Duterte. Mon Gualvez joins us live from The Hague in Netherlands. Magandang umaga, magandang madaling araw dyan sa'yo, Mon.
Good morning, Gretchen.
All right, Mon, what's the latest? Sino naabutan mo kahapon? Was the lawyer there to visit the former president?
Yes, Gretchen, actually, lead counsel of former President Rodrigo Duterte, Attorney Nicholas Kaufman, arrived yesterday sa ICC Detention Center and he actually gave a statement or he at least made an interview with us sa media, no? So ilan sa mga binanggit niya dito, talagang malakas daw yung argument na kanilang pinanghahawakan. He described it as a compelling argument, itong jurisdiction, that because he said that there is a lack ability to exercise jurisdiction given the fact that we have already kumbaga kumalas na raw, no, ang Pilipinas sa Rome Statute when they exercise itong pag-aresto nga kay dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte sa Philippines. Nung tinanong natin, no, yung other details about this one, hindi na siya pumayag dahil nga syempre he would want na sana daw may mga disclosure issues at saka mga bagay na kanyang i-defend na daw pagdating sa court, no. Pero nung tinanong din natin pahabol sana kung anong masasabi niya, especially the other side, no, other camp are saying na yung mga krimen nangyari during the time na miyembro pa ng ICC ang Philippines, and then he refused to answer kasi isa daw yun sa mga bagay na part na ng pwedeng i-hear sa korte, no. Ang sinasabi lang niya dito, yung jurisdictional argument is being used not only in the Supreme Court of the Philippines but also in the International Criminal Court. It kumbaga, it was already acknowledged and used in the past. At ito na daw yung gagamitin nila with this case of former President Rodrigo Duterte. He also mentioned that the president himself, or the former president himself rather, acknowledged and had an idea with regard to all these gatherings, itong mga pagtitipon ng mga supporters all over the globe, especially during his 80th birthday, and he appreciated it. Pero ang hiling lamang nila, no, even Digong himself says na sana raw irespeto or galangin pa rin yung judicial process. And lastly, isa rin sa mga nabanggit ni Attorney Kaufman kahapon, when we asked kung sila ba ay naghain na ng motion or request for the interim release of the former president, he admitted na wala pa. Di pa nila ito ginagawa dahil kinoconsider pa lang daw naman nila ito due to its complexity, dahil meron daw sila mga factors na tinitingnan. At the same time, di na rin na sinabi, no, kung kailan nila ito balak gawin. Pero it is a right, sabi naman niya, no, na para gawin naman daw at magsumite ng ganitong klaseng request or motion sa court para nga magkaroon ng interim release. Yamang ito rin yung pinapanawagan ng mga taga-suporta ng dating Pangulo. Gretchen?
Mon, meron bang indication kung kailan balak maghain nga nung application for interim release? Because in an interview, in a separate interview, was talking about finding the right timing for that. I mean, with your grasp of the situation, what would be the perfect timing to file that application?
We keep on asking, no, with regard to timing at saka kumbaga kung kailan ba inaasahan, kasi syempre yung clamor ng mga taga-suporta ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, gusto talaga nila na mapabalik na nga sa Pilipinas ang dating presidente at mapagbigyan na yung interim release. But Attorney Kaufman said hindi daw niya masabi at di siya magbibigay talaga ng specific time when to file this interim release. Pero during the casual interview, ang binabanggit naman niya, or kumbaga they want na mabilis din ito talaga magawa, especially before the confirmation hearing this September.
Okay, parang may sinasabi siyang 3 risk factors na kailangan masatisfy bago mabigyan ito, and an interim release is more of an exception than the norm. Ayun yung parang naalala ko doon. But he said that they will file that in the right time. In the meantime, kompleto na ba yung legal team? Was he able to give you names of the other lawyers?
Ang sinasabi nila, patuloy nila pinag-aaralan pa rin daw itong teams na ito. At hindi pa niya binanggit, no, na kompleto na yung legal team ng former president para sa pagharap niya dito sa ICC. They are in final touches. That is his exact words, no, with regard to the defense team. Because when we ask kung may mga slot pa na available, ang paulit-ulit niya sinasagot sa amin that they are now in final touches with regard to their team, Gretchen.
Okay, pagdating naman ng April 11, kasi ito yung they will respond to the evidence presented by prosecution. Did he say anything along those lines?
Wala, alam mo, matipid, limitado, at medyo mailap sumagot talaga si Attorney Kaufman with regard to the case. At the same time, giving specifics dito sa mga pwede nilang gawin or strategies rather, talagang hindi nila ito sinasagot. Especially, pabalikan na naman niya yung irespeto na daw yung judicial process, and because it might affect kapag hindi nirespeto daw yung judicial process, it might affect the whole case itself. Kaya yun din yung panawagan nga ni Pangulong Duterte even sa supporters niya.
Bilang panghuli, meron ka pa bang ibang nakita sa labas ng detention facility? How are the Filipinos over there? Did they stay overnight after the weekend? What's the situation like?
Actually, compared to the previous weekends, mas kaunti yung nagpunta ng mga Filipinos kahapon. Expectedly because it's a work day here in The Hague, no? It's a Monday yesterday, kaya talagang kakonti lang. Pero may mga bumiyahe pa rin kasi from other parts of the country, especially from Dubai and other parts of Europe. At sila yung mga talagang nagpunta at talagang nag-antay the whole day from morning till afternoon because they're still hoping na makabisita dito sa detention center yung mga family members ni former President Duterte, pero wala, no? So for 3 days hindi pa rin nakakabisita ang mag-ina ni dating Pangulo na sina Hanilet Alvancenia and Kitty Duterte, plus even si Vice President Sara Duterte. The last time they made a visit here sa ICC Detention Center was Friday pa. So again, we are expecting that today they might be allowed by the court, no, para makabisita dito sa dating Pangulo. Kahapon kasi dalawang legal team aside from Attorney Kaufman, yung isang babae na kasama sa defense team ang pumasok sa loob, kaya baka silang dalawa lamang yung pinayagan for an hour na makasama si dating Pangulo. Pero isa sa mga sinabi lang din ni Attorney Kaufman that President Duterte is in high spirit right now while facing the case.
Well, Elizabeth Zimmerman is already there. Is that correct? Meron ka ba rin ba naririnig tungkol kay Pulong?
Si Elizabeth Zimmerman, yes. Nung weekend pa siya dumating dito sa The Hague, Netherlands, pero we are not in privy if she will visit the ICC, kung kasama ba siya sa mga listahan na mga pinapa-approve na makapasok dito. Pero one thing is for sure, she is here for her daughter, si Vice President Sara Duterte. And with regard to Congressman Pulong Duterte, wala pa tayong update kung siya ay nakapunta na dito sa The Hague, no, dahil kumbaga magre-reliebuhan now, no, yung mga magkakapatid dito sa The Hague with their father.
All right. I think it is a wait and see from now on. Maraming salamat for giving us the latest from there. That was Mon Gualvez reporting to us live from The Hague in Netherlands. Meanwhile, the Immigration Bureau plans to recommend legal sanctions against Filipinos who leave the country illegally. Immigration Commissioner Joel Viado said the Philippines lacks a specific law against illegal departures. According to Viado, cases are currently prosecuted under related violations such as document falsification or passport tampering. This comes after the repatriation of 54 Filipinos from Myanmar who allegedly exited the country through backdoor routes. In sports, the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas has confirmed that Barangay Ginebra star and Gilas Pilipinas naturalized player Justin Brownlee tested positive in a recent drug test. The organization acknowledged the situation in a statement, but did not disclose the specific substance detected. According to SBP, Brownlee is receiving legal assistance from his lawyers in the United States as they work on addressing the matter. The Basketball Federation also clarified that FIBA has not issued any official ruling on the case as of now. Now, despite this development, SBP remains hopeful that Brownlee's situation will not affect Gilas Pilipinas' preparations for the upcoming FIBA Asia Cup in August. Brownlee previously tested positive for carboxy THC in 2023, which resulted in a 3-month suspension. Stay tuned for more Morning Matters. We'll be right back after this short break. I'm Gretchen Ho, and this is Morning Matters. Today, we are joined by a longtime activist and advocate for workers' rights. We have senatorial candidate Teddy Casino joining us on Morning Matters. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Gretchen. Magandang umaga. Good morning to our viewers.
Thank you for joining me on a holiday. Siyempre,
nga pala, holiday nga pala ngayon. Yeah.
Okay, you've lived quite an interesting life. As I read through your profile, kayo po ay nagsimula bilang isang lasalista. Tapos sa pagkatapos niyan, you gave up a scholarship offer from DLSU to study in UPLB.
Yeah.
You were editor-in-chief of your paper. You were on the honor roll, very active. You're on your way to becoming a lawyer, but you turned that down to pursue the life of an activist, and you've identified yourself as a leftist. Is that correct?
Yes, to the frustration of my father, who was the original lawyer in the family.
What was the turning point when you said, "Ito yung buhay na gusto ko"?
I actually entered law school sa UP. Pumasa ako ng LAE twice. First time, I didn't proceed. Second time, sabi ko, sige, tuloy ko na to. But I realized after 3 days in law school that I did not need a lawyer's degree to help people. Particularly, nasa workers movement ako noon nasa KMU. So sabi ko, will I spend 4 more years of my life studying when I can already do things for people, for the workers? So sabi ko, no, I don't need this degree. And that was that. So I continued as an activist. And then later, I was drafted by Bayan Muna to be a member of Congress, yung party list representative. So sabi ko na lang sa tatay ko, okay lang na hindi ako naging lawyer, at least lawmaker naman ako ngayon. So natuwa naman siya. So he finally understood.
Pero, I mean, there are all kinds of stigmas now attached to the life of a leftist and an activist.
Yeah.
I wanted to know more about that before we get into the other issues. Ano ba ang buhay ng isang activist? Ano yung ginagawa niyo sa grassroots? What kind of help are you able to bring? Kumpara sa lahat, ano?
Well, we live by, I would say, 4 principles. No? Una, yung maglingkod sa mamamayan, yung serve the people. That is always the essence of activism. You just don't be an activist na pagiging aktibo lang. No? Ang direction niyan always is to serve the people. So that's one. And when we say people, we're talking about the basic sectors, workers, farmers, indigenous peoples, of course, yung urban poor, all these, what we call the poor and oppressed people. Pangalawa, ang tawag namin dyan yung simpleng pamumuhay, puspusang pakikibaka. So you're not after wealth, power, glory, but you're there basically to do things so that there will be changes in the system. Pangatlo, yung makibaka, wag matakot. They're to struggle, they're to win. So yung boldness, and that always leads us to challenging the status quo. So it's a difficult life, but it's a very fulfilling one. Kasi alam natin, ang dami talagang mali sa lipunan natin. And we feel that the institutions, the structures, don't serve our people, don't serve the common good. And we're trying to make things better through the people's movement, by mobilizing people, by educating people, in the hope of changing the status quo. But eventually, that makes us vulnerable to attacks from those who benefit from this system. Kaya tinatawag kaming rebelde, tinatawag kaming terorista, all kinds of things. But we persist.
Back in 2016, during the start of the Duterte administration, the left kind of flirted with FPRRD, meaning there was, some sort of openness to dialogue.
Yes.
Binigyan pa ng 3 seats yung sa kanyang cabinet. Pero eventually, the leftist groups became one of the fiercest critics of the Duterte administration. I mean, how do we reconcile that? Given also yung history niya sa Davao, noon pa, bago pa siya naging presidente, na meron ng mga ganitong kasong lumalabas sa pagpatay, extrajudicial killings. I mean, hindi ba parang nung una pa lang ay deal breaker na dapat yon? I mean, paano nabuo yung ganong line, open line?
Even when he was mayor, the killings were always a sore thumb, a sore issue between the left and Duterte. But despite that, he became president. And it's not because of the left, but he became president because a lot of people supported him, even the right, even those who middle classes, the rich people supported him. So presidente na siya. And when you're president, wala ka namang ibang kadil sa gobyerno kundi ang gobyerno ng Pilipinas, ang president. And pag may bagong administration, we always give them the benefit of the doubt. In fact, during the time of Arroyo, the first few months of the Arroyo administration, we were with the majority. Ganon din nung time ni Cory Aquino. There was even peace talks during that time. Ngayon, in fairness to Duterte, he was the only president who offered seats in the cabinet, who said that he would end contractualization, who revived the peace process na matagal nang na-stall at that time. So we also gave him the same benefit of the doubt. Total, bago kong presidente, deliver on your promises. But less than a year into his administration, we saw na mali talaga yung pinatutunguhan niya. So you were right, we became his fiercest critics. And we became his victims of his EJK policy and counterinsurgency policy. So ganun talaga yun. You have to deal with the government that is there and be creative in trying to push the envelope. But if it does not work out, talaga magkaka-falling out.
Pero ano yung assessment mo nung panahon na yun? I mean, hindi...
Personally, I think we could have broken off earlier from working with him. Although as early as August 2016, we were already critical and criticizing his war on drugs. We should probably have broken off around November or December. Pero ang iniisip kasi namin, may peace process pa eh. At itong mga bagay na ito, pwede pang pag-usapan sa peace talks, subject of the negotiations. So that fueled our hope na baka naman may pwede pang ibigay ang administrasyong ito. But when the peace talks finally collapsed around May or June 2017, sabi namin, ano pang makukuha ng mamamayan dito kay Duterte? Wala na.
Kayo po ay Davaoenyo.
Yeah, I was born in Davao.
Oh, you were born in Davao. I mean, tapos minabasa pa ako na sinabi ni FPRRD na ikaw, Teddy, yung ulo mo sobrang laki. I mean, he was referring to you interrupting his campaign event in Davao. What happened there?
Well, I ran for senator in 2013. And of course, Davao was one of the places na I visited kasi doon nga ako pinanganak. And of course, he was the mayor of Davao. So it was during one of those festivals, I was his guest. So yun. And probably after, nung naging critic na ako when he was president, naalala niya siguro na at one time he hosted
Pero
me in
umakit
Davao.
kayo talaga? Sabi niya parang di daw kayo nagpaalam,
No,
hindi kayo
I was invited.
nagpasalamat.
I was invited
So hindi
to that
totoo
event.
yun. Ang nabasa ko ay bigla na lang kayo umakit ng stage. Kaya sinabi niya,
Anong politiko naman yung biglang aakit ng stage na walang paalam?
so hindi niyo ginawa yun.
Yeah, I was invited to the
But it
event
seems
because
like-
I was at the venue and at that time he was the mayor, so of course.
But did you witness the drug war over in Davao when you were still young? And how was that like? Because you also said in a statement that finally, Rodrigo Duterte has been arrested for his crimes against humanity. He will be held to account before a court, observing due process, something which he denied thousands of victims with his bogus drug war.
I left Davao when I was 6 or 7 years old in 1978. And since then, din ako talaga in touch sa Davao. So I was not a first-hand witness to the drug war killings when he was mayor. But there were many groups, human rights organizations in Davao that expressed concern early on, and we were always in touch with them. And sabi ko nga, that has always been a sore thumb in our dealings with the former president.
But sa inyong mga magulang, anong sinasabi nila tungkol dito? Kasi pag nakakausap din natin yung mga Dabawenyo, they would say, dati magulo dito sobra, ang daming krimen nangyayari, ngayon nilinis niya, inayos niya ng mga Duterte, ganun ng mas ligtas na ang Davao City.
That is the narrative that they would like to show. But I think may drugs pa rin sa Davao eh. Hindi naman nawala ang drugs dyan eh. And you know, I will not try to dispute that, but that will not in any way justify the extrajudicial killings of drug suspects. Kahit ano pang ganda ang nangyari sa Davao, hindi mo dapat pinapatay ang isang suspect. Wala man lang due process. Even the worst of criminals deserve to be heard and deserve the going through due process.
Pero kayo sa pag tinatanong mo ba yung sarili niyong pamilya sa Davao? Kung ano yung kanilang pananaw?
Wala na kami sa Davao. As I said, I left when I was a child. Dayo rin lang pamilya namin doon eh. My father was actually from Quezon, mother from Visayas. Doon kami na dayo. Stayed for a few years, but eventually went back.
But why did you say it was a bogus drug war?
Duterte, as early as 2018, said that his drug war was a failure and it could not solve the problem of illegal drugs. This drug war was premised on a false fact that we had 4 million drug addicts. When before Duterte declared that, the highest estimate by our agencies was 1.8 million users, not even addicts, including dyan yung mga first-time triers. So, on this false idea that there are 4 million drug-traced users, he launched his war on drugs, which again was central policy dyan was extrajudicial killings, not only by the police, but by death squads. So, lumalabas naman ngayon sa mga hearings ng Quadcom sa House that Duterte may have simply been replacing the drug cartels with his own network of drug in the drug trade. So, as we can see now, hindi naman nawala ang problema ng drug sa Pilipinas. It was a bogus. It was, just meant to keep him in power and give him absolute power and make him popular, but it did not really solve the problem of illegal drugs.
Your view on what's happening over at The Hague? Even if people do know that these deaths happened, they are first questioning the number of victims, 30,000. That is, para pag nakababasa natin, estimate ng Human Rights Watch groups.
Yes.
Ito. Pero yung actual names and actual figures, we haven't gotten down to that. And also, the show of support by OFWs. And also,
Sara Duterte asking for the names of 30,000 victims, as I said in a tweet I made, is like the Nazis asking for the names of the 6 million people killed by Hitler. You don't need to show 6 million or 30 million to say that Duterte pushed a policy of extrajudicial killings, that it was widespread, it was systematic. I think the 43 cases that are now being heard by the ICC are just emblematic cases. They are a sample of the bigger number of people killed. The latest official estimates now are at 7,200 plus. But these are the police operations. But if you include yung mga death squad killings, yung mga riding in tandem killings of suspected drug individuals, there was an estimate in 2018 from the government real number site of around 20,000. So again, you do not have to show all the 30,000 names to show that this was widespread, this was systematic, and that Duterte ordered these killings, and that he had knowledge that these killings were going on, and he kept on goading our police authorities and the death squads to kill more people.
But just like how you are doubting the numbers of the Duterte administration's war on drugs, his followers are also doubting these numbers and casting doubt on it, lalong-lalo na may mga lumabas na maling mga extrajudicial killing victims. Yung mga litrato nila, sinasabi mismo ng mga kaanak nila na hindi naman namatay yung kamag-anak ko sa EJK, pero bakit nagagamit sa mga rally yung mga litrato nila. Merong rally sa may PGH na yung doktor, yung tatay niya, hindi raw namatay sa EJK. Ganon din sa Hague, meron daw ganon na hindi naman dapat kasama kasi namatay sa iba. I mean, isn't it also important to make sure that, you know, we get the numbers correct?
Alam mo, naipaliwanag na yan eh. Sa dami ng pinatay ni Duterte, hindi na rin malaman ng tao alin ba dun yung dahil sa EG case ni Duterte or dahil talagang pinatay lang. But the ICC is limited to what is presented, to the evidence that is presented to it. At ito nga kagandahan sa ICC, I think for the first time, we will be trying a precedent in a court that is insulated from local politics. Kasi kung dito sa Pilipinas yan, malamang sa ngayon, naka-hospital arrest na yan si Duterte. And if he is convicted, a few months later, he will be pardoned. This is what happened to Erap Estrada. This is what happened to Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. So finally, the ICC, because it is in faraway The Hague, at insulated siya sa local politics, I think they will be fair. And they will give Duterte what is due Duterte. And on the basis of those 43 killed when he was mayor and when he was president, they will decide whether Duterte actually had a policy of extrajudicial killings, whether this resulted in the mass murder of at least 43, but most probably more than that. And he will be judged accordingly. And I think for the first time, he will actually get a fair trial, something which he denied the victims of his drug war.
Kayo po ba ay may nakakausap ng mga biktima? I mean, pag kayo ay bumababa,
oh yes,
do you know?
yes. And we have been assisting the victims from the start.
And do you know anybody linked to the ICC case? How are they feeling about things now?
Mixed emotion. One, they're happy. Pero tumagal ito eh. It's actually long overdue. They have been waiting for this for 7-8 years. Pero masaya sila na nakulong na, but they are also apprehensive. Dito sa nakikita nilang kilos naman ng mga grupo ni Duterte, questioning the ICC, and then all the show of support.
Kasi parang nabanggit nyo rin na the DOJ should open investigations into cases that are not before the ICC.
True. Kasi marami naman yan eh. And yun nga ang naging problema natin for the last 2 years or 2 or 3 years. Marcos was actually protecting Duterte. Kasi magkasama pa sila sa unit team. Thanks to the breakup of the unit team, nawalan ng protector si Duterte, and finally justice has caught up with him. But this is going to be a long process, and the families are of course apprehensive kasi ang experience nila sa justice system sa Pilipinas namamanipulate ng politika, namamanipulate ng public opinion. So there's also that hope that because it is the ICC that is trying it now, then baka naman maging patas ang korte.
But do you think it's the right time for the victims to come out and file in local courts?
Yes, because the political situation allows for it.
Okay.
If the unit team were solid,
Pero
walang mangyayari.
Di ba yung challenge din would be to find that direct link to the president? I mean, yes, he has public pronouncements, but also to put everything in his hands, and also the evidence, gathering evidence.
I think it will be difficult to show that Duterte actually ordered the killing of a particular individual. Presidente siya eh. All he needs is to tell Bato de la Rosa, all he needs is to make a public pronouncement that you go kill, at kung hindi nyo mapatay, bigyan nyo ng pagkakataong lumaban, and then it will happen. You do not have to show that he actually ordered the killing of particular individuals. I think that is the difference between an ordinary murder case and the case involving
crimes against humanity.
Crimes against president. But it is important that we also tried these individual cases kasi lalabas din dyan how the system worked. Yung quota system, yung may rewards kapag may napapatay o meron or this performance-based system in the PNP na paramihan ng nahuli na drug bust and they don't even care kung nako-convict eventually. So this can be unearthed through the filing of individual cases that are not included in the ICC case. So importante pa rin yun.
Well, that is to be determined in court. All those proving and also the filing of evidences, pieces of evidence.
Yes.
And also the victims coming out. When we return, we'll talk about your candidacy for the Senate. This is your second time running as senator, and we'll discuss politics and more when Morning Matters returns. Keep it here on One News. We're also joined here on Morning Matters by Senatorial candidate Teddy Casino from Bagong Alyansang Makabayan. Let's talk about your senatorial bid. Why run for senator this time? You ran in 2013,
Yes.
did not get into the Magic 12. Why not Congress, where there's a sure seat?
Well, Bayan Muna is already has already a nominee, si Nery Colmenares, Attorney Caloy Zarate, and Ferdy Gaite. So, sila ang tatakbo for Congress. But we believe that this time, it is important that we run for the Senate, not only as an individual candidate, but as a whole slate. The Makabayan Coalition has fielded 11 candidates. At ang pinagkaiba ng slate namin sa ibang slates is that one, these are people's candidates. We have a worker, we have a farmer, we have a teacher, we have an urban poor leader, we have a driver, we have a member of the Moro community, indigenous peoples, we have a fisherman, we have 4 party list, genuine party list representatives. Kasi ang concept namin, taong bayan naman sa Senado. Hindi na yung mga political dynasties, hindi na yung mga artista, hindi na all these old names that have all have a stranglehold on our the Senate and politics.
Genuine representation. Which is what a party list should be according to the spirit of the law. Pero pag tinignan mo yung batas, wala rin nagsasabi na dapat marginalized. Diba? Parang sabi dun, advocacy group lamang,
well,
kailangan.
it has been hijacked by the political dynasties, by the contractors and the big business interests. And that is one of the tragedies that we have. Ang party list ngayon halos it is a shell of its original
pero bakit kaya? Pag kayo ay kinakausap niyo mga tao, you seem to have a genuine desire to have that representation in government. Pero why is it always an uphill climb for these candidates to win? Bakit binoboto pa rin ng tao yung nabanggit mo na?
Well, one, kasi ang may hawak ng political machinery at the local level are really the political dynasties and the political operators. At pera ang gumagana dyan. So it's really systematic, institutionalized vote buying, especially now with all this ayuda, AKAP, MAIF, 4Ps. Mas mahirap, mas grabe ang vote buying ngayon. Yun, ang laki-laki kaagad na obstacle. Secondly, it's really the political system is against those candidates who do not have the resources, who do not have the billions to spend on political advertisements, on social media operations, and all these billboards na sobrang laki. Kaya napakahirap. But when we talk to the people, when we tell them our platform, and the idea that there should be genuine representation, they will agree. Pero on election day, pag nandyan na yung makinarya ng traditional politics, that tips everything. So that is the big challenge that we have.
But, and how do you plan to break through? In the past years, medyo mas dumadami na yung mga mukha mula sa leftist groups in government na nakikita natin, kumbaga, pagdating sa mga issues, naging
Yeah.
pronounced na yung boses. Ano? Nakikita niyo ba may parang slow shift
Yes.
to more acceptance with having more leftist leaders in government?
Yeah, especially among the youth. If you look at all the university surveys, all the surveys that involve young people, ang nasa top ng kanilang choices sa top 12 will always be those from the opposition, those who are not parts of the political dynasties. Ako, I have been consistently in the top 12 in all university surveys. So kahit papaano, yung kabataan natin, I think they realize that there are changes that need to be
Pero
made
hindi ba
in
matagal
for
ang
us
sinasabi na
composition.
walang youth vote?
Yes, I guess in an institutionalized way, but I think yung consciousness, no? And the more kasi yung mga youth na yan, tatanda rin naman yan eh. And then eventually they become the voters. So we're hoping that maybe not in 2025, maybe not in 2028, but in the future, as long as we are always there every election, sending out this message na kailangan ng makabuluhang pagbabago, that kailangan taong bayan naman sa Senado, there will come a time that majority of the voters are exposed to these ideas. And there will be victories along the way.
And speaking of victories,
So wala kaming ilusyon na 2025 mababago na natin yung buong composition ng
Dahan-dahan.
Senado.
Oo.
But yes. And hindi pwedeng we will not participate in these elections.
you served as a 3-term congressman back in 2004, I believe. What were your victories in terms of legislation?
Well, I would say my biggest legislative act would be the Public Attorneys Act. This is the act that provides the legal basis for the operation of the Public Attorney's Office. And because of that piece of legislation, dumami ang mga public attorneys natin. They're now 1:1 for every court sala. They are now equal to the fiscals. At ang net effect niyan, better free legal services to millions of our indigent Filipinos. Napakalaking impact niyan, I think, sa ating mahihirap. Of course, we also passed the bill exempting minimum wage earners from income taxes. That was the precursor of the future legislation later on that basically tinaas yung exemptions for income tax. Malaking tulong din yan sa take-home pay ng ating mga manggagawa.
Ngayon po, ano po yung priority po ninyo? Pagpasok po ninyo, the legislative bills,
Yes.
and what is your assessment of the current Marcos administration's performance? In the recent SWS survey, hunger is actually rising. We see prices also of goods, agricultural products rising. Ano pong priority po ninyo pagpasok po ninyo? Kung makakapasok po kayo.
As a slate, syempre ang pinaka-basic dyan yung issue of poverty and hunger. So, ang pinupush talaga namin, itaas ang sahod ng mga magagawa through a legislated minimum wage hike for all regions. Secondly, genuine agrarian reform and the building up of our industries to provide jobs, livelihood to our people. Pero sa bahagi ng sarili ko, I will focus on political reform. Kasi tingin ko, hanggat hindi natin nababago ang komposisyon ng political leadership natin, we will always have difficulty in pushing for progressive legislation. So the anti-dynasty bill is very important for me.
Mapapasa ba yun?
Kailangan.
Paano kaya?
We have to try.
Oo.
Yung Whistleblowers Protection Act, yung Freedom of Information Act, things that will empower our people to be more proactive, to be more engaged in governance. Ngayon, doon sa usapin ng problema ng pagkain, we used to be an agriculture exporting country in the 80s hanggang sa mid-90s. Pero sa mid-90s, there was a shift in policy because of globalization. Minaliit na natin ang ating agriculture. And eventually, we underspent on agriculture. Ang thinking noon, debate ito sa World Trade Organization. Ang sinasabi ng policymakers, wag na tayo magtanim ng palay, magtanim na lang tayo ng cut flowers because in comparative advantage, mura ang palay sa Thailand, mag-import na lang tayo and then let's export our cut flowers. At sinasabi ng manggagawa at the time, hindi natin makakain ng cut flowers. We should still develop our own local rice industry. Hindi. Sabi nila, globalization na, hindi na. So they pushed for all these high-value crops na pang-export. And look at what has happened now. We cannot even feed ourselves. We have become a net agriculture importing country. We are spending less than 2% of the budget on agriculture. Ngayon, medyo tumaas to 3%, but that's a far cry from the 5 to 7% that Thailand is spending on its agricultural sector. So yun ang isang kailangan. Talagang
Kasi sabi nga ni Kiko
focus tayo sa
Pangilinan,
agri.
dapat yung pangako ng administrasyon ay sinamahan ng panggastos ng budget.
Oo. Pero
Oo.
hindi lang budget eh. It's really the policy, yung neoliberal policy, na pinabayaan na natin yung ating mga magsasaka to the market. Inisip natin, mag-import na lang tayo ng mag-import kasi mas mura ang imports. But that has really impacted negatively on our agriculture. And then at the same time, kinonvert natin yung mga lupang agrikultura, ginawang subdivision, ginawang golf course, nawalan din ng capacity to produce ang ating sector. So maraming reforma ang kailangan sa agricultural sector. And that's part of the agrarian reform, genuine agrarian reform program that we want to push.
At sabi mo nga, kailangan natin ng aktivista sa Senado.
Kailangan.
Alright, so we have a senatorial candidate, Teddy Casino, running for the Makabayan Coalition, and he joins us this morning. And we will stay tuned to your campaign. Good luck, all the best.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on this holiday.
Good
Speaking
morning.
of holidays, it is April 1, 2025, and has been declared a regular holiday nationwide in observance of Idil Fitr. Idil Fitr marks the end of Ramadan, the Islamic holy month of fasting observed by Muslims worldwide. Malacanang says the holiday declaration aims to bring the religious event to the fore of national consciousness. The National Commission on Muslim Filipinos earlier proposed either March 31 or April 1 as the national holiday. And that's it for today's episode of Morning Matters. My name is Gretchen Ho. We are One News, all sides, all the time.